Be good. Be very good.
Hey guys, it's me, Yaya. What's up, peoples? Thank you, and so happy to be here today. Listen, thank you for joining us on Dream Chasers Radio. I'm trying to be like elegant and stuff, but it doesn't work for me, so I'm just gonna be myself. We're here today to tell a story, and not only a story, a long and never ending story, a story about faith, a story about truth, a story about a person who has realized that they too are kind of rooted into that story. And we're going to be talking about it. And I have the website here. I want to go ahead and say Rooted Truth Healing. I want to welcome Takisha to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, goodness gracious. So let's go back a little bit because everybody has that moment where they go, aha. When did that happen for you?
So I can tell you that I've had a lot of haha moments in my life. I think it started maybe in around 2008, where I traveled to Antigua, and
Hmm.
I was introduced to the secret of deliberate creation by a friend. And getting to Antigua, I used that kind of energy. Like someone had told me that they were going, and I had a thought that maybe she could help me to get there. And over the course of those months, I was in my head thinking, what if I go there and I could meet this person, and they could help me to stay there, and they could take me out and take me to the movies, and I could live the life that I see on TV.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
believe me, it happened exactly how I planned it out. The girl said it to me. She's going to take my photograph. She's going to, help me. It happened. I went there. I met this guy, and he was the one that introduced me to the secret of deliberate creation. And the day when he told me about it, I was so annoyed. He had this like store that he sell like conscious music and ital foods and
I
just
love Ito.
documentaries and stuff. And I
Mhm.
was just helping him out in the store. And he said to me one day, I think he thought that I was idling or something. And he was like, maybe you should, watch this documentary. And I was like, oh, what the hell he's talking about? I don't watch those things. I was murmuring a lot. But I think after a few days, that mind came back and it said to me, Keisha, go check out what he's talking about.
Mhm.
And I watched it. And when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been doing all my life. I just didn't know that it was a thing. So it was
Mhm.
like, I started being more conscious of things that I was saying and doing and the way how I would behave in this world.
Mhm.
So people know me, like my friends will know that I don't say certain words. Because I know that words, are energy. But
Yeah.
fast forward to 2019, I started, getting into motivational speaking, and I remember the vision board from, The Secret, and I wanted to make a vision board, so I did that, and I was asking God that I need more. Like, I was like, we, ask God for small things when God is able to do big things. And
Yeah.
I remember that I said, God, I want you to help me to pay a mortgage instead of asking you to pay my rent every month. I want you to help me to do that. And within, 2 years or so, I bought the house and everything. And, I had this, picture on there that I wanted to go closer to God. And I remember that in 2022 I had a baby and stuff, but I had this back and forth relationship that, it started back in Jamaica. I came here, it ended, and it started again, it ended, it started again. So it was back and forth. So in 2022, I was watching all these motivational stuff, and I remember that I saw an Instagram video saying that if you want a spiritual awakening, you should watch these three movies. And I
Mm.
remember that I couldn't remember all the name of the movies, but I remember one of them, and I said, okay, let me go on YouTube and buy the movie. I didn't even check, but the movie was on Netflix already for free. So that's how
Hello.
I understand now that that's the way it ought to happen, because the movie alone didn't do it. So after I
Mhm.
watched the movie, a documentary came up, and I didn't started watching the documentary. It was so interested, and I remember that at the end of the documentary, with everything that they were saying, and I was understanding everything so deeply, I remember that at the end they said that we were all gods. And I remember that that broke something inside of me. I can
Mm.
explain to you what it was until this moment, but I was taken over by love. That love that I felt is nothing, nothing compared to what we think is love right now. Trust me.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was so, refreshing and calming, and it was like a blanket was being thrown over me, and I was just in this sense of like nothingness. I was crying and weeping and having all these understanding. And I remember I was crying to my partner and my children, and I was telling them like, we're all gods, like we're not the God, but we're an aspect of God. And we're supposed
Yeah.
to be living a better life. And I remember I sobbed to the kitchen, and I was standing there, and I remember I had my first download, and it was that God, Jesus Christ wasn't more special than anyone else. It was that he understood who he was.
Mhm.
He came into himself, he healed, and that's how he had the ability to heal and to do all these great things. And I was like, what the? And I was cursing, like, you need to tell me that I have the same power as Jesus Christ. Listen, growing up in Jamaica, you were taught about Christianity and religion and all these things, and you have the understanding that Jesus Christ, is special and he's come from God. And, so we are all, secondary or thirdly to that. And when that download came in, it was like, what the fuck? I was going crazy. Trust me. So, it continued, and for about 2 weeks, I was on this high. I thought I was holy. I was going to heaven next week, and nothing matters anymore. I know who I am now, and that's it. But to my surprise, life continued to happen. Crazy thing was happening in my life. Argument was happening. I was getting triggered. I was asking God, how do I change my life now that I know these things? How do my life change? And I remember that I was just knowing things that I shouldn't have known. Like, I was learning things about, I was getting download about the government, how system work, about slavery. I was knowing all these things that, let me tell you, I was mad. I listen, I was so mad to know that all my life I've been living a lie.
Mm.
That all the things that I was taught as a kid, like I have to unlearn everything. It was so crazy, and it took me to a place of darkness. Like, I was like, God, like, why are you telling me these things? Why do I know these things? I'm not supposed to know these things. And I have a family. Like, I don't want to die, and I don't want to get them killed. And it's like you're telling me that I need to be out in the world preaching or talking and, doing these things that I am not capable of doing because I don't want to die. So, that's how it really started. But, I wasn't getting any downloads anymore, I guess, because God don't force you to do anything. And that's just the whole point about it. You
Yeah.
have to want it. And I had to go back and tell God over and over and over and over. Even in this moment, I'm still telling God that I am here, I am ready, and I'm willing to do anything that you want me to do. And that's what led me to writing this book, because I had so much experience over the past like 3-4 years now. It's like crazy. Like, I have gone up into the heavens. I have seen my spirit gone back into my body. I've seen God as a woman. Like, I have so much miracle vision, and these are all the things that I have written in the book, because
Mm.
how things was gonna change. And the voice in my head just say, one day just write the book. I guess with all the experience and the things that I now know, moving from a place of believing to a place of knowing, and that's what led me to this journey.
My gosh. My goodness. Oh my gosh. There's just how did you okay, I know that you said you were cursing. I know you said you were like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But how did you deal and how are you dealing with that tension between not knowing and all of a sudden knowing too much? And
Yeah.
then coming to the realization that, yeah, you can still kind of navigate yourself within this realm that you've just found.
Mhm. Yeah, it was hard at first, as I said, but it's like over time, a lot of things started happening, and I think God put an armor on you and put bravery in you. And I think with all the things that we had learned as kids, all the things that make us scared and be fearful of authority and, those, demonic energies and powers, I think God bleed them out of our system because I think they're all embedded in us and called trauma and, narcissists and all these names, envy, jealousy, all of these things, greed, all the things that are within us, that those are the things that stop us from doing the work that God intended for us to do on the earth. So it's like you have to know these things, you have to learn, you have to heal yourself, you have to understand who you are, why you're here, and what you're supposed to be doing. And once you get a grasp on that and God start putting those things inside of you, and that's what gives you the energy to be able to do the work that God intended.
Yeah, yeah. I have to ask you, and I know that we're doing the entire thing, and we're talking about everything, and we're talking about your journey. We're talking about the moment you realize that this is not happening. It's just not happening. Okay, I don't want this. I don't want it. I don't want it. Take it back. I don't want it. But knowing it now, how do you how do you deal with people in your book coming to you and telling you, "Hey, I'm sorry. This divine presence that you're talking about, I don't want it. I don't want it." How are you conveying that to people so that they can receive it better in your book?
So you have to understand that you are not just a human, living in this world, having an experience. You are a spiritual being. So we take on these identity and we think that that's who we are. And because of religion and all these things, politics and all the things that comes in, and we think that we are small, and we think that, a lot of people don't want to know who they are because they think they're off this world, because they like the material things and they like the life that they're living. But there is a higher power that created us. And
Mhm.
when you understand that power and you have a personal relationship, because that's the thing about us as Christians, we believe in God. We don't know God for a fact, and because we think that we know everything and we understand because the Bible said it, or my pastor said it, or my
Mhm.
great great grand uncle said it, it's the truth. But that's not truth. Truth, it comes from within us, and God would not leave it up to mankind to give the truth to us, because we are all corrupted and everybody is trying to put their own understanding. I can tell you my understanding of God, but you have to have a personal relationship with God in order for you to know the things that you are capable of and where
Mm.
you came from and why you are here in this world. So when you know all of these things, you're not a small thing. You know that you're not meant to do small things. You're meant to do
Yeah.
big things. And with that, you don't even care who believes you, because Jesus Christ was here and he was telling us a lot of things and we didn't understand it. And he moved on and we're still left here and we're still the sheep. You understand me? We still don't know anything. We're still dying. Our families are dying. And we think
Mhm.
it's normal for people to die at 2 years old from sickness or from cancer or from a car accident. All these things are things that God has been showing me, that these things are not normal things. And if you don't get within yourself and try to learn and know, you're going to die too. And you might have to come back here because there's nowhere to go. Like if you haven't cleansed yourself from all these energy that keep you tied to the earth, you're going to keep reincarnating and coming back here again. And trust me, I hate it here so much that I have to find myself and I have to find the truth, because I don't want to come back here not like this, not blinded. You understand me? Like if I'm coming back, I need my healing energy, I need my power to walk with, and I need to be, living the life that I want. I want
Wow.
to roll in grass. That's my life. I want to
I
be
hear
free.
you. I hear you. A lot of people don't touch the reincarnation thing. They don't believe in it. I have to say that I have been studying on a lot of different things because obviously we don't know everything.
We don't know
And
anything.
unless we're over on the other side,
Yep.
and I tell people, okay, who's come back to tell you? the exact way that things work. Who's come back? No one. No one has come back and told you personally, hey, this is how it works. Like my mom passed away a year and a half ago. She's the only one that could come back right now and tell me, hey, this is how it works. This is what it's like. But she can't, because that's not the purpose of this journey. The
Right.
purpose of this journey is to understand that you know nothing,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that you can live in the in the unknown and understand that your life is a ground for learning, for
Yes.
growing. And then when you go on the other side, you're going to leave these people behind to
Mhm.
continue their journey as you continue yours. Energy never dies.
Yes.
The body is going to go, but your energy, yourself, your spirit will remain. Um, your book is profound. Excuse me. Sorry. Your book is profound. Your book tells you and tells people about certain things. What was the one revelation that you had that you wrote down in your book that took you for a loop? You had to stop. I can't. Oh my gosh. I never even realized this. What was that?
So there were many, but many. Let me tell you. So as I tell you, this relationship that I had, the first time I saw this person, I was maybe about 16 years old. I saw him. Was passing my friend's house, and I said in my mind that he looked like husband material.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't making anything of him. He lived, quite away from me. We never spoke, and I didn't know his name or anything. After that day, I saw him twice again, and twice when I saw him, he was in distress. So he had just
Mm.
had a accident where he hit a little boy, and the foot was broken.
Oh.
Another one was when he was fighting with a girl, and I remember that. During my awakening, I think in 2023, as I said, constant argument. He had problem like maintaining a job. He loved working. It's not like he's worthless or anything, but because he had all these issues going on that we didn't understand. And, he was having accidents all his life. And I didn't even know that. I know he had a few
Mm.
while we were together. And so in that moment when we were having this argument, I was crying out to God and I was questioning God about the relationship. I'm like, why am I with this man? Why do I continue to go back to him with all of his, behavioral problems and issues and, just the way how he doesn't understand life, even though I get it, he doesn't get certain things. And I'm like, why do people behave like that? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
I do.
I was questioning God so much, and I got up. I had to go to work, so I got up from outside and I went in the shower, and I was still saying, God, like, why am I with him? Like, why am I doing this? And the voice in my head said, "You're here for His purpose." And I'm like, what?
Hmm.
I'm like, so what about my purpose?
Exactly.
And the voice said, well, you could say you're here for His purpose and He's here for yours. And I'm like, okay. And I was very comforted by that. So I
Okay.
ran out of the bathroom and I told him that day that God said I was here for your purpose. I told everybody that I could tell that was in my circle that I knew that God told me that I was here for His purpose. And, I questioned God and God said, well, whatever. So as time goes by and we were having all these arguments and issues and triggers, and I was learning myself through all these things in the relationship. But I remember that he had an accident again, um and the night he came home, but I was in my healing journey. He came home and he was crying. He burst out crying and I
Hmm.
burst out laughing. I can't explain it, but I just laughed. Like in myself, I was like, whatever it is, God is gonna reveal something. And because I
Hmm.
was so deep within my journey, and I'm like, you are not even at fault. So why are you so upset? But I guess going through these things all these years, and I understood his pain, but I understand that, God was telling me that there was something deeper. So
Hmm.
I remember I took him to the hospital that night, and the doctor said something that was so messed up, and I snapped at the doctor, and I was telling him that the doctor was on drugs, and she wasn't herself. She was, and I remember the next day I went to work and I was telling my boss about the doctor visit, and I was telling him, what if I had told the hospital, the staff that, because when I started talking to her, the whole room went silent. And because and And the voice said to me, yes, you knew all this, but what if you had said it and she lost her job? And I felt so ashamed in that moment. And I'm like, okay, so God, I know you're giving me these, these abilities or whatever they call them, these psychics ability, and I have to learn how to use them. And I can't be careless with what I say about people, because now I understand that I'm not just making up things. Because as a kid, I used to think that's what I was doing, but I didn't understand that there was something deeper embedded in me.
Mhm.
So anyhow, I was telling, my boss, and anyhow, my husband called me on the phone. Hold, fast forward. So when we came from the hospital that night, I told him that I wanted to pray with him, because the thought in me just said pray with him. Because before we went, he said to me, it seems to be a pattern that I'm having these accidents. And I looked at him, but I didn't, respond. But when I came back, I said to him, I want to pray with you. And he was like, no, I'm going to go outside and, I'll come back and whatever. So when he came back, he's like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to lie down and you could pray and whatever. And I said, okay.
Mm.
So he lied down on a pull-out mattress that we had, and I knelt over him and I started praying. And the minute I opened my mouth and I looked in his face, he was fast asleep. And I was like, I didn't even say two words. I'm like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. You tell me that I have the energy within my body to do whatever. Whatever he needs tonight, I want you to do it for him. And I started praying. And I remember the thought in my mind was like, I should just pull things from his body. So I was doing this and pulling things from him and brushing him down. And I remember when I finished, I felt tired. So fast forward when I went to work in the morning, and I was telling my boss about the doctor visit. And he called me and he said, my mom just called, and he's been trying to talk to his mother for weeks, I guess. And I guess because of the phone connection in Jamaica, he couldn't get through to her. But the minute she called, someone was screaming in the background saying that, their father had just passed, or passed during the night.
Oh.
So while that was happening, he was mad because she had just called and he didn't hear from her, and that happened. And he was like, I wanted to talk to her. But
Mhm.
then, he called me back again. He hung up, he called back. He said, yes, the person did die. And another cousin called to confirm that, the grand uncle is a grand uncle of theirs. He had passed. And the cousin was complaining to him how wicked that grand uncle has been to them as kids, or as, adult, whatever. And I started getting so, you guys need to forgive, you need to stop, it's not that serious. And I remember that he was starting to get upset, but while he was getting upset, the voice in my head said, Keisha, just listen.
Mhm.
And I remember that my ears started tuning into the table where the phone was, even though I had my earpods in. And he was going on and on talking about how wicked the uncle was and whatever. And I remember that the voice in my head said, Keisha, why did you know this man in his pain before you even knew his name?
Oh.
It's like, what? And I started paying attention now. And I remember that I came home and I called his family members, his sisters and his mom, and only one of them answered. And I told her on the phone, I said, I called the three of you, only you answer. Maybe you're the only one that I need to talk to tonight. But I wanted to ask you, like, how long has he's been having these kind of accidents and problems in his life? And she's been saying, oh, girl, all his life, like, oh, when I was a kid, this happened, that happened. And I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
He woke up that night to hear me and the sister on the phone. And we started having a conversation. Then the cousin called, and it was like a four-way conversation. And I remember we were talking, and in that moment, God revealed to me that as a kid, that same grand uncle daughter had a son who had a bike that he was riding so carelessly on the road that the grand uncle told the mother that if you want to save your kid's life, you need to take this bike because it's going to kill him, and da 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 da. And the bike was given to my partner as a kid. So the transfer of that energy went
Mm.
on to him, and that caused a lot of disruption in his, life, a lot of accidents and problems. And that was what God was showing me. So I asked God, what was I supposed to do about this? And he
Mhm.
told me that I needed to, break a bottle that I was drinking out of. So I went and I broke the bottle. But further, I went back inside and we continued the conversation. And as they were continuing to talk, God had now revealed to me that the same grand uncle had used my husband energies here, and he was like living off his energy, using his energy to sustain his own life.
Oh my
And
God.
that night, when I prayed over my husband, the curse was broken, and that's how he died, because the energies that kind of throw back the wickedness that you do, it came back, and that's how he passed. And God had revealed to me what had happened, how he died, and I had all these information before anyone has ever told me about it. And then, I was telling my husband, and then what was happening, and then days after I found out, the situation, how he passed, and I realized it was the same thing that God had revealed to me.
Oh wow.
So these are the things that's been happening in my life, and God has been showing me that's been going on, in a lot of people's life also. But because we're not aware, we're not in, the consciousness to know these things, we think these things are regular and normal.
Yeah. Wow. 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 Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's wow. Wow. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful
I
what
know.
you get, what you take from people, what you have
Oh
in
my
your
God, I
house,
can tell you so
Oh
much
man.
stories. Like, I've had a neighbors trying to hurt me right now. Like, it's crazy. And these are the things and that's why I know that this is the way that God wants to use me, because he's been showing up all these witchcraft and people doing evil things. I didn't believe in these things. As a kid, I think I need to apologize to my family, because all my life they've been telling me that, they used to be wealthy, people did things to them, and I thought they were just worthless. I thought that it was bad management, it was all these things. I didn't understand until a neighbor gave my husband, a gift. And the gift was in our house. And I was losing tenants. I was, having mice and termites and things coming,
No,
problems, pipe being burst, money being spent,
no,
all kind of things been happening.
no,
And, in 2024, Christmas, God showed me my neighbor coming out of her house, and I started having these nasty feeling inside of me. And I was like, God, what is this? And the voice said, it's to envy. And I was like, why would I envy this woman? And I remember that, the voice started going off like, bring that to me. I should have that. That's mine. Like, and I remember that I got up and I was like, what is this? And I was like, I'm gonna tell my partner when he comes in the house. But the minute I said that, he burst through the door and he came in and he was like, I just saw the neighbor and she's envious. And I'm like, oh my God. And the voice started speaking like, that's not your feeling. That's her feeling that you picked up. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that these things were possible. And
wow,
I remember that I was praying to God, asking him, like, why is things going like this financially? And God was telling me, go move the thing out of the basement that her husband gave to your husband. And I'm like, I told him. He was like, let's do it. And I continue for another couple of months or weeks, I guess, because I was questioning God for like 8 months. Why did you show me this woman heart? Are you testing me? Are you trying to see how holy I am, to see if I will still talk to her knowing that she's envious or whatever? And I didn't understand it until when we moved the thing out of the basement. We did it about three, after three, the Sunday morning, Saturday night into Sunday morning. And I remember that we put it, to the curb. And the next morning we were in bed, because remember, we went to bed late, so we were in bed and we heard walking upstairs. And when we checked the camera, the realtor was there showing somebody the apartment. And I remember by 10 a.m. the realtor called saying that the house was rented.
oh wow, oh wow, yeah, yeah, wow, wow. You have a lot of experience with this, a lot, and your book, I mean, is just wow. It's just gonna help other people to understand what's really going on in their lives, and why they're experiencing probably the same thing that you are
Oh,
experiencing
yeah.
and have experienced, and to take them through what's truly going on with them, because I think that people get confused, and they think that that's not of God,
Mhm.
that's not,
Yeah.
can't be of God, it can't be of God.
And this is
This
the
is
thing, for
just,
the lack of knowledge, my
yeah,
people perish. So we have no
yeah.
knowledge. knowledge. We have no understanding of God, the spiritual realm, who we are,
Mhm.
where we're from, why we're here. So all these things, people keep dying generation after generation. We die, we come here, we die, and we live no life. We have no kind of peace. We have no kind of joy and no understanding. So that's what's happening. So people can be ignorant and pretend that they're small and they're limited and they have to wait on Jesus Christ, to reach to the heavens or whatever
Mm,
they believe. But I'm telling you, you can continue to believe that, or you could ask God, like, God, I know nothing. Can you teach me? Can you show me who you are? Can you
mm.
let me know you for myself? And that's how you're going to get it. So you could say people are lying about their experience, but you could also have an experience for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. People need, and writing a book like this will help people to get through what they're going through and understand what's happening to them. Because again, people start freaking out like you, and the next thing you know, they're like, "Nope, don't want it. Nope,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
good."
at
You know.
first, that's how you feel because you have that scarcity in you. You're scared of, dying. But when you understand that there is no death, I was in a place where I was like, when I measured my life as to, I came here, I have two children. What if my children don't love me? Or what if I didn't have, what about the people that didn't have any children? Like,
Mhm,
I measured my life. I looked at my life and I saw that there was nothing there. Even
mhm.
though we think that we're parents, like everybody come here with their own soul, their own journey, and we are not responsible for anyone because if reincarnation is real, right? And you die and you come back, you have different children, different mother, different family, you're a different part of the world. What happened to those people, those
Yeah,
family members? What happened to them? Like the children that you hold on to that maybe don't love you or you didn't treat as well as you should have because you're traumatized and you didn't know how to be a good parent. So with all that, who are you? Who
yeah,
are you? You have to get to know yourself and
yeah.
understand who you are to God. Because
Mhm,
we're not here to be a parent, we're not here to be a wife, we're not here to be small. And that's the thing that we don't understand.
yeah. We came in this world by ourselves,
Naked,
and
naked,
we're naked,
naked,
just with the
naked.
skin on our bodies.
Right? So why are we worried about debt or the things that we can't control?
Well, see,
Try
I always ask people, I know you're afraid of dying. I don't think that you understand that you were already dead
right, yeah, right.
before you got into the
We're
body
dead
that
now. We're dead
you're in
now.
now.
We're
Well,
dead
and
now, and we think we're
but
alive. You
but
know,
see, the thing is that we live where we're the Walking Dead, basically. But before we got into the bodies that we're in today, where were we?
we were free. We were free. We
Exactly.
were consciousness.
And yeah, and
So
so
much
that's the
better
thing. I don't think they know that. I don't think they know that. I think that they started in this body and that's it. But
and
that's not
they
the
want
truth.
to keep this body forever and they want to
Exactly. And that's not
discriminate
the
the
truth.
body, they want to hate the body, they want to treasure, they want to do everything with the same body, but this body does not belong to us. I remember when I was taken up out of my bed into the heavens and I saw how we look as a light being, like just as a speck of light. Like these bodies are not for real and you will continue to change body until you change your consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to tell people that they can go to rootedtruthhealing.org, rootedtruthhealing.org. Beautiful, beautiful. I think, you really put your heart into it. To me, this is something that, a lot of people don't understand and they don't get it. And until they can get the book, until they can, see what you've done and how you've explained it, I think that's when they will understand. And to me, it's, I always say, hey, study, just study. Because the way that the Most High Creator talks to one person is not always the same as the way they talk to the other.
Mhm. That's right.
And so, yeah, I don't talk to my daughter the same way I talk to my husband.
Definitely.
So, the Most High Creator will not talk to you the same way that they talk to me, to talk to you, to talk to someone else. It's different. Everybody has a different purpose in life and they have a different journey they have to go on. Um, Takisha, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. I've had a wonderful time. And girlfriend,
Mhm.
mm, okay? Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. You keep going, okay?
Definitely.
Awesome. And you guys, thank you guys so much. I'm going to put the website. Oh, there it is. rootedtruthhealing.org. Rootedtruthhealing.org. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And man, I tell you what, yeah, if you're going through this, get the book. Just get the book. Because if you're freaking out and it's really taking you for a loop, get the book. It'll help you understand where you're at.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Until next time. Bye.
Thank you.
No problem. Anytime. Well, I hope you're enjoying the show. Oh my gosh. I am so, so very excited to have you here. 4% of you. The 96% that have watched over and over again and tuned into a lot of my shows have not subscribed. I have over 41,000 people here, and that would overfill a stadium, which is amazing. I never thought I could ever fill a stadium, but for YouTube, that's kind of a little 4%. So if the 96% of you, oh my gosh, that's so many people, would please take a moment and click the subscribe button, I would be so grateful. And back to the show. Thank you. Thank you for watching.